Welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth Liz Machette, and today the astrology forecast for February of 2026 with my friend, fellow astrologer, and colleague Justin Crockett Elzy is joining me today. Welcome, Justin. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you, Liz, for having me. I'm excited to talk about February with you today.
It's always a pleasure to have you on my channel. I enjoy that. So, Justin is an archetypal and Jyotish astrologer, teacher, author, and seer. You can reach him through his email address at justin.lz@gmail.com. I'm an astrologer, author, intuitive, and you can reach me through my website, alightpath.com. And we're in the month of February. I took this picture down at the beach a couple mornings ago when it was nice and frosty. It kind of reminded me of February. So we're in the air element, which is about communication and information flow. It's in the fixed modality. I say it's like staying the course and tidying up and finishing a project. The ruling planet is Saturn traditionally and Uranus modern. The mantra is I know. Some keywords are reformer, intellectual, idealism, and the caution is detached. Would you like to add anything, Justin?
Uh, no, I would say one thing. I think it's important to point out. I love what you put here. I think the big thing for me is the fixed modality. Let people know that that the energy between Aquarius and Leo, or as being fixed signs, is more individualistic. So that plays into it as well, the individualism.
Thank you for adding that. So, February 1st at midnight, the moon phase from the sun to the moon is in the gibbous phase, and that's about being adaptable and analyzing and reflective. The moon is in 4 degrees of Leo, so we have a fire moon starting the month. The ascendant here for Seattle is a 28 degrees Libra, and the midheaven is 6 degrees Leo. Would you like to add anything about the chart for February 1st?
Well, yeah. So I think it's also important to note that that moon is about ready to become a full moon. As we know, the full moon is on the first, which we'll talk about. But that's I like how you put there, analyze and reflect just before the full moon.
And we're going to look at the Sabian symbols for the sun and moon as we enter the month because it kind of gives a flavor to the month. The Sabian symbols were channeled in 1925 by spiritualist medium Elsie Wheeler and with the assistance of Mark Edmund Jones. Mr. Jones believed Elsie had tapped into the ancient mind matrix. There's 360 Sabian symbols, one for each degree of the zodiac, and each saying kind of represents an image to go along with each degree. So, looking at the sun at 12 degrees, we're going to look at the degree leading up to, the degree of, and what's next. Would you like to start us off, Justin?
Sure. So we'll start with the Aquarius sun, and the image here is during a silent hour. A man receives a new inspiration which may change his life. The keynote being the need to rely upon inner inspiration or guidance at the start of any new developments, at the start of any new cycle. We want to go inward and listen to our inner guidance. Key phrase here is the overshadowing of the individual consciousness, or the importance of what the individual consciousness is.
And then Aquarius 12. On a vast staircase stand people of different types, graduated upward. The necessity of recognizing differences, types, and levels of development, whether human beings live or work together. And the key phrase is the natural progression and states of consciousness.
And then what it's leading to, which is Aquarius 13, is a barometer. And it's the ability to discover basic natural facts that allow us to plan in advance for action or anticipation.
And how would you sum up the three of these?
Well, I think it's interesting here that we've got two of the actually almost three of them, but they're looking forward, looking forward. One is a barometer. It's talking about being able to have some foresight and to be ready for what's coming, anticipation. And then, of course, we have during a silent hour. Um, that internal reflection before a new cycle. So both of them here are sort of talking about we're about ready to enter a new cycle here, and it's how we our behavior is before we start into a new cycle, which is going inward, listening to our inner guidance. And I think that's and it's talking about consciousness there as well. So I think it just seems to me really um, uh, um, appropriate for the beginning of this month, which we start with a full moon right at the beginning of the month.
Right, in that transitional phase.
Yep.
And then the Sabian symbol for the moon starts 4 degrees Leo, so the degree leading up is Leo 3. A middle-aged woman, her long hair flowing over her shoulders in a youthful garment. And the keynote is the will to meet the challenge of age in terms of our modern society's glorification of youth. And the keyword is independence.
And then Leo 4, a formally dressed elderly man, stands near trophies he brought back from a hunting expedition. And the keynote here is the human will to conquer our animal nature and impress upon our peers our skills in performing ancient traditional rituals or power rituals within society. And it's a reference to a human's capacity to overcome our animalistic tendencies.
And then the next is Leo 5. Rock formations tower over a deep canyon. The keynote is the structuring power of elemental forces during the long cycle of planetary evolution. And the key phrase is a picture of impersonality. How would you sum these three up, Justin?
Well, I think here we're talking a lot about ego with Leo, of course. And I think the first two really kind of stand to the power of our um, within ourselves to overcome our animalistic and egoic tendencies, which are tied to the body. And then, of course, impersonality is basically non-egoic, non egoic, I would say. And so it just seems to be a lot around how we're dealing with our power structures and our consciousness and our ego.
Well,
What
thank you
about
for
you?
sharing that. So, out
What do
of
you think?
bounds.
What about you?
Oh, I like what you said, and I think you're right. So, I don't think there's much to add to that. So, we're going to go
Okay.
on to the out of bounds planets. So, out of bounds is a planet north or south that exceeds the declination of 23 degrees and 27 minutes north or south. And this month we have the moon out of bounds from February 10th through the 14th and the 24th through the 28th. And Hygeia has been out of bounds since last year in June and um, until February 17th. So Hygeia is almost done being out of bounds now for a while. So and then planets moving into new signs this month are Mercury moves into Pisces on the 6th. On the 10th, Venus moves into Pisces. On the 13th, Saturn moves into Aries. And on the 18th, the Sun moves into Pisces. Planets stationing retrograde or direct this month On February 3rd, we have Uranus stationing direct in Taurus. On the 13th, Hygeia stations direct in Gemini. And on the 25th, Mercury stations retrograde in Pisces. So we're going to look at the first few days of February of the planetary happenings. We have February 1st through the 6th. And on the 1st, we have a full Leo full moon at 13 degrees Leo in 4 minutes. On the 3rd, Uranus stations direct. On the 4th, Mercury is sextile Chiron. On the 5th, Mercury squares Uranus and Sun is quincunx Jupiter. And on the 6th, Mercury enters Pisces. So, for this first 6-day period, is there anything that kind of jumps out at you, Justin?
Well, two or three things actually. So first, it jumps out to me is the Mercury Uranus square, and that usually means if Mercury, the planet of communications, is squaring Uranus, the planet of rebellion, revolution, and change, and also a higher vibration of Mercury or communications, that there'll tend to be some tension. And because it is between Aquarius and Taurus, there could be some differences between that need to detach or our idealism versus our sense of safety and security. And so there's some analysis of thought going on with that. So that jumps out to me. Second thing is the sun, being quincunx or imbalanced with Jupiter. So I think this again is leading to because it's Aquarius, could bring an imbalance between that need to um, again detach from what's going on in the collective versus Jupiter that's kind of dragging us down to deal with all the cancer stuff within the tribe or the group or the family structure. But the Aquarius wants to kind of step back and observe and have some healthy boundaries there. So there's something there about boundaries and balance. And then, of course, the Mercury moving into Pisces is very compassionate. I love that. So that's the three things that jump out to me. What about you?
Well, we're starting the month with a Leo full moon, and you and I will be back in a few days to talk just specifically about that Leo full moon. And it'll be the last um, full or new moon before we start the eclipses. So it's kind of like preparing us for those eclipses. So I'm going to go on to the next slide unless there's something else you want to share on this one.
No, no.
So here we have the Leo full moon with the moon aspects. The moon is trine Ceres, opposite the Sun, Venus, Mars, and Vesta, sesquiquadrate Saturn and Neptune, and quincunx Juno. So we have, quite a few aspects going on there, and traveling with that Sun, Mars, Vesta, and Venus. That's quite a combination of all those planets conjoining each other and being with this full moon. So any of these jump out at you that you'd like to discuss, Justin?
Well, because it is a full moon, of course, the part of fortune is on the descendant. And I think the quincunx or in conjunction there between the moon and Juno right next to part of fortune highlights that. And I think this could again bring some level of individuality and how we're needing to kind of have healthy boundaries with our relationships. That Leo Aquarius um, quincunx. I think it is in Aquarius. Let's see. No, I mean Capricorn. I mean Capricorn. That Leo brings some that Leo Capricorn there between Juno and Capricorn and the Moon and Leo could be power issues between relationships at that time with the Moon.
Absolutely, and a time to work on any kind of improvements that we might require in our relationships. Or maybe it's setting boundaries of this doesn't work for me anymore and it's time to let it go. Oh, there went Justin. I hope he comes back here in a moment. Um, and we have the Moon Trine Ceres, and they're both in fire signs. So Ceres is about grains, etc., and nurturing. So we might need some nurturing on a deep level. And I'm going to let Justin back in because he's back with us now. So we're going to get back in here and get started. Hi, Justin.
Hey,
Can you
how's it going?
good? So I was just kind of talking about the trine between Ceres and the moon, and Ceres being about nurturing and grief, and it's trying that moon, and they're both in fire signs. So working with that energy. Is there anything else that jumps out at you on this chart that you'd like to discuss?
No, nothing on this one, but I know we'll come back around to a show on this later on, so we'll really dive deeper then.
Absolutely. So from February 7th through the 16th, we have Venus square Uranus on the 8th. On the 10th, Venus enters Pisces. On the 11th, the Sun is sextile Chiron. On the 12th, Mars is quincunx Jupiter. On the 13th, Saturn enters Aries and Hygeia stations direct. On the 15th, the Sun is square Uranus. And on the 16th, Mercury is trine Jupiter. So, what stands out to you, Justin?
For me, it's the Mars quincunx Jupiter, because I see, of course, that's being a challenge. The quincunx, there's some imbalance there, and again, I think this highlights what we were saying before on the first week, where the Sun in Aquarius was quincunxing Jupiter. I think this again brings in where we might have been thinking about some level of detachment, but that Aquarian needing to observe and detach and set healthy boundaries within Jupiter and Cancer and the collective. That now at this point this week we actually take action in doing something with that with Mars there. But Mars, of course, in Aquarius is about innovative effort or individualistic effort. So again, I think there could be something where we uh, kind of go our own way there a little bit versus what everybody else is doing.
Well, and I like that the Saturn is entering Aries because that'll be quite a different energy of the structure and maybe some new structures forming that I'm kind of excited to hear about. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
No, that's all that really jumped out to me about this chart. And
Okay.
I know you took this chart. That's actually the chart for the moment that Saturn moves into Aries. Um,
Yeah.
on this, so this is a 13th chart, kind of the middle of
Yes.
the week there.
And then February 17th through the 28th. On the 17th, we have an Aquarius new moon solar eclipse. On the 18th, the Sun enters Pisces. On the 20th, Saturn conjoins Neptune in Aries. There's been a lot of talk about that. On the 22nd, Mars is sextile Chiron. On the 25th, Mercury stations retrograde. And on the 27th, Mars squares Uranus and Mercury conjoins Venus. So jump in at any one of these that you'd like to talk about, Justin.
Well, I just want to point out, I know you're going to have another slide for the Aquarius solar eclipse, but I want to point out how important that solar eclipse is. That is actually the Lunar New Year, that Tuesday. It's also Mardi Gras that Tuesday, and it's also the beginning of Ramadan. So this solar eclipse is pretty important as an inflection point in the year.
Yes, it is, absolutely. And we've been anticipating that Saturn and Neptune conjoining exact for, I think people have been talking about that for over a year now. So it's finally going to conjoin. Any the other ones that you'd like to talk about?
No, I'm good.
Okay, here's uh, the slide for the solar eclipse. We have the moon square Uranus and Sedna, trine Hygeia, and sesquiquadrate Jupiter. And sorry I didn't draw all those in, but um, that moon square Uranus and Sedna, that seems kind of powerful to me. Um, Uranus, the unexpected, and starting, like you said, the Lunar New Year and Ramadan and all those other events. And there goes Justin again, and hopefully he comes right back. He's having a little bit of trouble with his internet today. And then that new moon is trine Hygeia. So any health regimes or health improvements that you want to make, perhaps exercise or just, eliminating one thing that maybe hasn't been so helpful, this would be a really good time to start working on that. So here comes Justin back. Hi, Justin. Welcome back. So is there any of these
All right,
aspects you'd like
thanks.
to talk about?
No, I knew we were going to do a show later on this Aquarius new moon, and I look forward to talking to it about that when we do that.
Yeah, and that'll be on Justin's YouTube channel, Astrological Yogi. So we look forward to having you join us there in the future. And Justin's going to kind of tell us what he did here for the moon out of bounds. Oh, there went Justin. So for the moon is out of bounds February 10th through the 14th. And so when the for Sagittarius, it'll be square Virgo and Pisces, sextile Aquarius and Libra. There's Justin. I was just starting off with the moon out of bounds, but you can go ahead.
Sure. So I really wanted to would talk about this moon out of bounds because there'll be 5 days in February, as you pointed out, the 10th through the 14th. And then, of course, another 5 days in February, 24th through the 28th. But I wanted to, Liz, talk about a little bit about how that out of bounds affects people. And so for the first those first 5 days from February 10th to 14th, it'll be the sun will be in, I mean, the moon will be in Sagittarius, a fire sign, and then it'll then moves into Capricorn for the last couple of days. So, if it's when it's out of bounds in Sagittarius, of course, Sagittarius moon, people are going to probably be a little bit more free spirited at that point than normal, the Sagittarius, and then of course maybe a little bit more adventuresome. And so, if anybody has their moon or sun in Sagittarius or one of the other fire signs, then it'll be triangulating the Aries and Leo energy. So that just heightens the fire energy at that point even more. So that out of bounds will actually affect those Aries and Leos a bit. And then, of course, if anybody has a Virgo or Pisces sun or moon, this could be some tension between the need for perfection and imagination versus just letting it all go and non-committing to things. And so there could be, especially with Virgo, people feeling this disconnect between being tied down or just needing to be free from something. And then, of course, it's sextile that out of bounds Sagittarius moon would be sextile any sun or moon in Aquarius or Libra. So that's a creative energy there. And then, of course, the quincunx, which is in balance, again, with the Taurus or Cancer. Again, we run into some tension between some level of stability and being grounded versus the need to get out and be free. And then for the next couple of days, when it is out of bounds in Capricorn, this can mean when people are a little bit more um, needing to control the situation and a little bit more driven than normal because Capricorns can be very driven. And so if you have your sun or moon in a earth sign like Capricorn or Virgo or Taurus, man, this is a great time to to maybe just clean the whole house. This is going to be a time where there's going to be an easy flow of energy between that earth energy, because it'll be out of balance. So it magnifies that effect of Capricorn. If your sun or your moon is in Aries or Libra, then this could bring in some tension within relationships versus yourself, because that Capricorn being squared the Aries, which is about individualism and power issues, or with Libra with relationship and power issues. And then, of course, if your sun or your moon are in Scorpio or Pisces, and then, of course, it's got very creative energy. It can be very positive. And then, of course, if it's your sun or your moon are in Leo or Gemini, with that Capricorn moon out of bounds, then this relates to some level of, again, maybe power issues. Would that need to be independent, individualistic, that Leo and Aquarius versus what somebody wants you to do? And then, of course, the next 10 days, I'm sorry, 5 days, February 24th, 28th, we have a Gemini moon out of bounds. So again, this is a more very curious, communicative moon. So people are going to be a lot more maybe chatty at that point, or social, maybe a little bit overboard. And if you have your sun or moon also in an air sign, Aquarius or Libra, this is a triangulation, so it's much more powerful. It'll be affecting the Aquariuses and Libras a lot with communications and sociability, over the top, maybe a little bit. It can square Virgo and Pisces again, so there could be some maybe some conversations where you know do you overlook all the mistakes, or are you a little bit more of a perfectionist in that communications? Because we know that Virgo and Gemini are both ruled by Mercury, so there'll be a little bit of a more analytical thing going on there. Sextiling Leo and Aries, so again, good creative energy there. It's a great time to write for those 2 days out of when it's out of bounds, especially if you have a Leo and Aries sun or moon. And then it'll be quincunx or imbalanced with a Capricorn or Scorpio sun and moon. And so that may bring in some level of maybe not attention to detail to the structure of things. And maybe it's sort of this, maybe some deep, intense emotions actually come out in some conversations at that point that weren't supposed to come out, the Scorpio secrets. And then, of course, when the moon is out of bounds in Cancer, again, watch out. This is a very emotional moon. So, it's a good creative energy if you have anything in Scorpio or Pisces with a sun or moon, because then this is going to be a triangulation effect, an easy flow of emotions at that point. If you have your sun or moon in Aries or Libra, then it'll be square. So then again, we could have some difficult emotions that come up within relationships. Just kind of watch that out when the moon is out of bounds in Cancer. It can be sextile in Virgo and Taurus. So again, that might be the time when you want to stay home and you want to clean house and you want to reorganize everything. You really feel emotionally need to do that, because the Virgo wants to, and I mean, the Virgo and Taurus really wants everything ordered and structured there and stable. And then quincunx out of bounds with Aquarius and Sagittarius again. We may feel this need to stay home versus go out, and some tension there as well. So I thought I'd just bring in a little bit of how it may affect each individual person based on that. I kind of ran through that a little bit. Any thoughts on that yourself?
Well, I want to thank you for adding this because I find it very interesting, and I look forward to hearing from our audience what they think too. But I'm glad you added. Okay, Justin's going to go through the planetary themes for the month.
Right. So this again is sort of just kind of letting us know. We talk a lot about the aspect of where the planets are at and how they're interacting with one another. But actually, the sign that they're in is just as important, so that we know the Mercury moves from Aquarius to Pisces this month. Mercury, the sign of, or the planet of communications. So it goes from that intelligent, a little bit of observing and detached Aquarius, idealistic Aquarius, into a compassionate Pisces this month. So Venus, the planet of desires and affections, moves from Aquarius, which can be unconventional, very esoteric, eccentric, into Pisces, Venetian into Pisces, and again, very creative transition here. I think both those are very good. Mars stays in Aquarius this month. And so, again, it's about innovative effort. Jupiter still in Cancer, so we're dealing with a lot of family or tribal stuff right now. We can see a lot of tribal stuff going on in the collective. I don't need to mention anything there. And then Saturn, of course, going from the compassionate, spiritual Pisces into the Aries. So it's manifesting dreams when it's in Pisces, but now it's moving into Aries. So there's definitely some focus on our individual selves and that assertive identity. So people are going to be much more structured in trying to assert their identity. So just a few of the planetary themes this month. Anything you want to add?
I think you covered it well, so I'm not going to add anything. And thank you for adding that. That's wonderful. And some favorable activities for the month.
Yeah, so if we look at Jyotish or Vedic astrology, the sun and all the planets actually go through lunar mansions every month. But we look at what lunar mansions that the sun is in this month, and the from the Vedic nakshatras or lunar mansions, and it gives us some auspicious or fortunate activities during this month based on the lunar mansions that the sun is going through. And the lunar mansion the sun is going through is Shravana, Dyanishta, and Shatabashisha. And so the Vedic deities actually that are affecting these are Vishnu, which is the Hindu deity of preserving things. Dyanishta is the deities there are the elemental gods. And the deity for Shatabashisha is Varuna, the god of cosmic and terrestrial waters. So this month is good for counseling, listening, learning, and socializing. Uh, Humanitarian activities are auspicious, beginning new adventures, travel, meditation and yoga, any type of marine activities. And when I say mean marine activities, I mean boating or going walking by the beach or spending time near water, because of that energy of the Varuna, the cosmic god of terrestrial waters. And then, of course, anything to do with medicine, health, and anything to do with proactive approaches this month as we go from the 1st to the 28th of the month.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Justin. It's a great contribution for sure.
Yeah.
So, I want to thank you, Justin, for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I want to thank our audience and those that come back and watch at a later time for joining us today and in the future. And we're going to go on to Justin and I do astrological consultations. We have newsletters, YouTube channel, and social networking. So we appreciate you following and liking us and contacting us for a consultation. Justin, I'll let you tell about your slide here.
Sure. So I am a Jyotish and archetypal Western astrologer as well, and I write a weekly horoscope for the Port Townsend Leader newspaper. If anybody's ever over on the peninsula here in Washington, and then I also have a lot on my YouTube channel. And as a matter of fact, I now do a new moon podcast with Liz, New Moon Outlook. And actually, then Liz does another new moon with another person. So you do two new moons every month, but this is one that I actually facilitate. And Liz is my guest on there. And this one, she talks a lot more. So,
Well, we look forward to having people join us here.
yeah.
And I have a lot of um, videos or podcasts in my archives and 1 to 3 coming out each week. So I always enjoy having you join us. Um, the audience and Justin, he's on a few times a month. And I want to thank our sponsor, Astro Peregrine Software, an astrology software for Mac and Windows. And you can find out more information at astroperegrine.com. Thanks again, Justin, for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to having you on again soon. And I'm so excited. We did our first new moon forecast or podcast with Justin last month, and we're going to have one again this month. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
And it'll be on the solar eclipse, which again is the Lunar New Year, the Fire Horse. It's also the day that Ramadan begins, and it's Fat Tuesday, Mardi Gras. So this is a big solar eclipse, new moon, something people should pay attention to and look forward to that show with us.
Starting the year with a big bang.
Yes.
Well, thanks again, and we're going to sign off for now, and we're going to see you all later. Thanks.